Hey, welcome everybody to Four Brothers Podcast. As always, it's Walt, our brother Chuck.
Hello, everybody.
Our brother Alex.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And via satellite from parts unknown, buying some foreign objects, Andrew.
Get it on, gotta get it on, got no choice but to get it on, mandate, get it on.
Okay.
Speaking of which, little things stopping, big things popping.
That's right. I assume everybody saw MVPs in TNA now?
Yeah, because, it worked so well the first 7 times they tried it, or the last 7 years, the Christian thing was so successful when they brought him in, and then, all the other mid-carders, that worked. And then it didn't work with RVD, it didn't work with Hogan, it didn't work with Jeff Hardy. So let's go backwards and get something that's a lower caliber than Christian and see if it'll work.
And you're telling me that MVP is worth the amount of money that AJ Styles was making? I think they had a better place to spend that money.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But the apparently his contract wasn't fully settled when he went to the show, and part of his contract was that it had to happen on the European tour, because he's been in Japan these past, say, 4 years. And it's one of those things we were just talking about, if anybody would remember who somebody was. I mean, the guy was a mid-carder in WWE for maybe a handful of years, and then he's been gone for 4.
Right. Well, and his most memorable feuds were with Matt Hardy and Chris Benoit.
Oh, you can't say that name on here.
He fought Chris Benoit? I don't even remember that.
They did a whole feud for a long time over the U.S. title.
Well,
and Chris Benoit actually lost the U.S. title to MVP right before he killed his wife.
That explains it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, but MVP, that was ridiculous. And, okay, one of my favorite tag teams, and you guys might have heard me say this before, is the American Wolves. They bring them in, and they're bringing in this investor, this guy, and they're from Ring of Honor, and they bring MVP, who is a mid-carder in WWE and has been in Japan for 4 years. Where's the connection? And also, why all of a sudden do I realize the Wolves are about 2 feet shorter than everybody else?
Why does...
What's with the guy that's stalking Christy Hemme? I don't understand it.
Yeah, and they show it on TV that he's got a room with a mannequin over in it. That guy actually looks like he's got potential, but the storyline is horrible.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, and then this Ethan Carter III, terrible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, comparatively, he's like a modern-day Larry Zbyszko, but I think Larry Zbyszko actually had some talent and some charisma.
Yeah, well, you know what should be going on in TNA right now? It should be AJ Styles. It should be Austin Aries. It should even be Bobby Roode. It should be Cowboy James Storm. And then behind that, the original Curry Man himself, Christopher Daniels, and
Kaz?
And Kaz Kazarian.
Well,
those should be your top guys, and all of them are pretty much buried right now.
Hey, did I tell you, the other day I was watching videos on YouTube, and you will never guess what I saw.
You
the
saw
original
Eric Young,
ECW debut of Christopher Daniels. I had no idea he was in ECW.
I thought you were going to say you saw Eric Young pin CeeLo Green in a convenience store.
No, that was pretty funny, though.
I thought you were going to say, going back to the prior podcast, that you saw him defecate on somebody's bed. But,
yeah, exactly.
But no, Christopher Daniels, I actually saw him in WCW many years. I would say, let's say, circa 1990.
Yeah.
But WCW at that time was Windy City Wrestling in Chicago.
Right. Back then he had hair and eyebrows.
Yeah. And then Kaz used to wrestle for EWF. He was trained by Jesse Hernandez, and that's kind of a sore subject with me because he gave Killer Kowalski all the props for his career because his anniversary came up, and he didn't give Jesse any credit, and Jesse did so much for that young man, it's not even funny. So
Oh, I
it's
think-
a sore subject. So to me, Kaz, great wrestler. He came backstage once or twice back in the day. We saw him at some shows, but to not give national credit to a man like Jesse, who gave him a big shot, and to give it to Killer Kowalski, which, from what I understand, he was with him for a matter of a couple months before
Right,
his debut. Yeah,
he
so
was name dropping. That's what he was doing. He was just name dropping.
yeah, so it was just terrible. And Melina's the same way in my book. I don't think she gives enough credit. Now, someone that does, and I'm not trying to go way off subject here, but I had the chance to meet Karma, Queen Kong, not too long ago. And,
Oh, yeah, the Amazing Kong,
Awesome Kong, yeah. And she gave all the credit to Jesse. She came out just for him. She came out to the wrestling school, very, very proud of him, and he's very proud of her, and it was fantastic to see.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to the fall of TNA.
Now, there's a couple guys who... The storyline they're doing right now, I'm loving. It's just awesome.
Who?
And they're not getting enough credit or enough exposure.
Don't tell me it's Abyss.
Abyss and Eric Young.
Horrible. A storyline that was horrible when it was plotted out two and a half years ago.
That was the only good match, the last TNA.
Well, yeah, I'll give you credit. They're good matches. But the storyline is terrible. It's just terrible.
Well, it's not that it's terrible, it's that it's overdone.
It's
just
been going
too
on
long
for so long. Yeah, I mean, it's...
They
And
drug
it doesn't
out
make
too
any
long,
sense.
But it's coming to his conclusion that...
Well, the law firm's been closed for 10 years, right? So when he went back to not being Abyss to being, what's his name, Joseph Park, what's he doing with his time when he's not in TNA? The storyline's just stupid.
Right, but let's also not forget the fact that they've said before that he's already Chris Parks.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? They've already said he's Chris Parks, not Dumbass Parks. I can't even think of his name now.
Joseph.
But it's a split personality.
It doesn't...
They've never used the split personality storyline in wrestling
But
before.
they didn't do it right. I mean, it's
But
terrible.
10 years ago he was Chris Parks. How was he also Joseph Parks at the same time?
That's the concept of a split personality.
No, but it's not possible the way that they're doing it. You just go,
Right.
oh.
I don't know, I kind of like it. It takes him to bleed to really get that.
Well, that I like because that
part.
ties into his former storyline with the blood. But that's probably the only aspect of it that I like.
And this last week, it was just an incredible match with the thumbtacks and everything. And then at the end, where Eric Young rips his mask off, and then he looks in the mirror and realizes, wait, I'm Joseph Parks.
Wait. So here's the problem I have with that. Because it's not the mask that's separate. It's the missing teeth on the bottom row.
Yeah, no, exactly. He popped in his
The
teeth,
teeth
and
were gone.
then he just covered up his tattoos. I mean, it's just. I mean, I'm sorry. I think it's dumb. I think right now the best person in TNA, and didn't get his proper push, and when he did, things were good. That was Austin Aries. He is their Daniel Bryan in my book. And I've said this for years. You guys know this. I've said he belongs in WWE, Austin Aries. I also believe AJ Styles belongs in WWE.
Yeah, but WWE has Tyler Black and they're not doing crap with him. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think once my prediction comes true and he joins the Wyatt family, he'll get a push then. Not.
Remember, the one that surprised me, though, because I got to bring this up. I've been meaning to bring this up for a long time. Evan Bourne. I'm amazed that the WWE gave him the chance they did and that he screwed him over with freaking drugs, man. Nobody ever thought Matt Sydal would amount to anything. As great of a wrestler he was, they always said, oh, he would be great in WWE, but the WWE would never take a guy like him and do anything with him.
Yeah, and it's just like CM Punk. CM Punk just got a big name on the indie scene, and at the time, they were looking for stuff outside the box, so they just happened to pick him up as a project, and it took off. But since CM Punk has worked out, what they've done is they've been picking up more Ring of Honor guys. And quick fact that the American Wolves, like I said, they just debuted in TNA. They were supposed to go to WWE, but they were considered too small, and they wouldn't be able to use them. But they Antonio Cesaro's from there, also known back then as Claudio Castagnoli. They picked up Chris Hero, who's been injured. They actually picked up Nigel McGuinness, who is what they call him?
Desmond Wolf.
Yeah, exactly. But he couldn't pass the health thing, so TNA picked him up.
Now, you know something about him, though. As Desmond Wolf, or as Nigel McGuinness in Ring of Honor, he was flipping awesome.
Yeah, he was.
As Desmond Wolf in TNA, he was crap.
No, they brought him in with a big push. They let him, I think he beat Angle his first night in, didn't he?
Yeah, but then they changed him. If they had gone with the original concept with him with the jacket and the hooligan type of thing, I think it would have been better because he was over and then they changed him.
Right.
Well,
and the 6-inch long spike, the spiked hair.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing about Nigel McGuinness is the spiked hair.
Yeah, Nigel McGuinness just freaking awesome. But, I mean, they also picked up Tyler Black. That's how Daniel Bryan got his push, was because of CM Punk, or got picked up was because of CM Punk. But now what they're doing is they're not picking up a lot of indie guys. They're just picking up people that they can train because their training facility down in Florida, everybody learns the same thing. And the difference between that and a school like School of Hard Knocks, Jesse Hernandez is here in Southern California, you learn, like on a Saturday morning, they're doing lucha, hold for hold, that kind of stuff. You go on another day, they're doing high flying. You go on another day, they're doing basic drills. They're doing all the different styles. So you're learning all these things. Where in WWE, right now, it's a cookie cutter wrestlers. So... But they've picked up some good talent. Let's see what they do with them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, and I always see the list of names online. They had actually signed, I always forget the guy's name, that big, he's a big Japanese guy. He was the Ring of Honor World Champion when they did their first pay-per-view.
Right.
I always forget. He's got this crazy-ass name.
Yeah.
But they signed him, and everyone in WWE is like, why did you sign this guy? And then they dropped him.
Yeah, the guy was phenomenal, and that's kind of what happened with the American Wolves. Is everybody loved them, and then Triple H thought they were too small, and basically they got cut on the last day after they had already signed the preliminary stuff. So it's just amazing how that happens. But Triple H still has that Vince McMahon mentality where wrestlers should be big guys,
right?
But, you got to have a combination of both, in my opinion. People are.
Well, but I still remember guys though. Remember, when the WWE they'd actually signed Wildcat Chris Harris.
Yeah, they signed Chris Harris. Yeah.
And WWE realized. They realized this guy doesn't have the heart. This guy doesn't have the passion. He's getting fat. He's getting out of shape.
Yep.
We should have never signed him, and they let him go as soon as they realized they'd made a mistake. So I think some of these people kind of deserve it, but it's real tough to say sometimes.
Yeah, they let Monty Brown come in, and they gave him quite a nice push considering he was a former football player, but he left because of family issues.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Did you say family issues?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's what it was. And he had no regrets when he left. He did wrestling. He had no regrets from his time.
Yeah, that's all you can really do. Sometimes family comes first, and from the outside as fans, you see it one way, but inside it's like working anywhere to a certain extent.
Yeah. No, I never liked him. I thought he was a wrestler in TNA at the time. The TNA was a joke. You had the events leading up to the main event were usually Johnny B. Bad and Disco Inferno and a bunch of characters you'd never heard of. And then you have the main event, which is Monty Brown versus Jeff Jarrett. And it's like,
but
who cares?
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett, I think he's 22-time NWA World Champion from TNA.
Yeah.
I know, but I was watching the Raven DVD and from TNA, and when I saw the Raven DVD, every match was just awesome on there. And it's from the beginning of TNA. So there was still some good in there.
Yeah, but there was no consistency. That's the thing. Raven was there on and off. Raven was never there consistently. And they never had a consistent brand. One week it would be all the old WCW guys. The next week it would be all the old ECW guys. And you never knew which show you were going to get. Other times it was just nobody.
Raven was there enough to be considered he did a lot for TNA. He was there enough to be considered a star.
Yeah, probably a couple of years into it, probably. But I don't have any qualms with saying that TNA sucks. I mean, TNA has always been horrible, and every time they've tried to up the product, they've done it wrong. When they brought in Hogan, that could have been great. I didn't care that they got rid of the six-sided ring. I didn't care that Hogan took control of everything. I didn't mind any of that. I was very disappointed at the fact, though, that they tried bringing in the Nasty Boys, which I never wanted. They brought in Hall and Nash and X-Pac, which, okay, but it's like what they needed at the time was for AJ Styles to be the world champion, to be a good guy. When they put AJ Styles with Ric Flair, that was the biggest mistake they ever made.
I thought that could have been cool, but they did it all wrong.
Yeah, Fortune, the whole concept I loved. I even loved Fortune when it first got together. But they almost immediately abandoned the concept once it got going.
Yeah. And you know what was something that should have been huge, and they should have learned from this, that taking the old guys and trying to run with it isn't going to work, is the Main Event Mafia. Main Event Mafia was an awesome concept. They had some good wrestlers in there, but they just did it all wrong. I mean, and I'm talking about Booker T, Scott Steiner, Kurt Angle. Who else was in Main Event Mafia?
Joe was for a minute.
No, I'm talking about the original.
Sting.
It was Nash. Yeah, Nash, Sting, Angle, Booker T, and Steiner. Yeah.
Yeah, but remember...
don't you remember Booker T from Harlem Heat somehow became African? And he was doing the African accent during that time?
Was that in TNA?
Yeah, that was
he was
in
doing
TNA.
the King accent in WWE.
He was trying to sound like a retard. Forgive me for saying that. I apologize to all the retards in the audience.
Well, Andy, you can't apologize to yourself.
Chuck, thank you for bringing the show to a complete halt. We appreciate that.
Well...
But actually, I wanted to bring up... I wanted to bring up how horrible that was, though, because the Main Event Mafia had no competition in TNA.
Right, exactly. They threw everybody that had anything there. It should have been like Fortune versus them, but I think, starting to go to hell in a handbasket. Like I said, I named off the guys that should be the top guys, and who's even near the top? Austin Aries, they put him in back down into the X Division as champion, and then they're maybe building it back up. I can't really tell. Bobby Roode's fighting Kurt Angle. I don't know what that even means. He was their longest reigning champion, and now he's just playing games with Kurt Angle. Cowboy James Storm is always in some kind of thing where his tag team partner's stabbing him in the back. And then AJ Styles, just the storyline's whack. It's just terrible. And then who else did I mention? Well, Samoa Joe should have a bigger move, up in the company, but WWE wanted to hire him, but he didn't want to go there because he felt like they were just taking him to, not use him like they do sometimes. Is that like what they did with Gail Kim? They paid him the money and then put it on the sidelines.
Yeah, like what TNA is doing with him?
Yeah, exactly. But WWE, they would have paid him better. But the thing about Joe is if he went to WWE, they would have had to have him on a cardio thing because they don't like wrestlers that look like him.
Well,
yeah.
Don't you remember when we went to go and meet Joe, and Wally decided to wear his Samoa Joe shirt, the Samoa Joe sighting. And you know who complained about the Samoa Joe shirt? Samoa Joe. He's like, I hate that shirt.
Yeah, because it said Joe knows pain. He goes, how do I know pain? Was I abused as a child? And he goes, I hate that shirt. I was like, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but we got it as a freebie or $5. What was it? Something like that? I go, so it's just a cheap T-shirt and you happen to be here, so I wore it. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it was comedy.
I mean, TNA, I was hoping for the longest time would be that replacement for WCW.
Yeah, I really
an
wanted
actual
it to be, too.
competitor with WWE.
Right.
'Cause I think since WWE dominated everything, the wrestling industry is hurt. There's a lot of wrestlers that don't get the kind of showcase they deserve because WWE won't hire them, and they have nowhere else to go.
No, it's true. And WWE learned that the hard way, is that competition really drove a lot of the things. So that's why they had to change up their concepts. But I think Goldberg is going to end up doing something with WWE at some point. I think he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame within the next few years, and I also think that he may end up fighting Ryback the way that everybody's calling for it. So, but we'll see.
I honestly have no desire to see Goldberg versus anybody right now. I just don't care.
If it was Goldberg versus Ryback, I would root for Goldberg.
Dude, who would?
Yeah, Ryback is just terrible. Another missed thing, but I can't remember who it was. I was somebody that was a big star, and they said that he has the worst finishing move ever. How does that even make sense to be a finishing move? You know? So. But the worst finishing move, in my opinion, and he's doing it better now, but when he first started doing it was the worst, and we were talking about this last week at the show, is Big E Langston. It was like what would you even call it? A stomach thumper? You know? He just jumps down holding the guy's stomach against his shoulder?
Yeah. In concept, watching the move, there's more pain being inflicted on him than his opponent.
Exactly.
They're landing on top of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The move doesn't make sense as an effective move at all.
Exactly right. Well, that's what happens. That's what happens. I don't think Big E's got any talent. I don't even know why he's there.
Yeah, he's what was the guy's name before him? The other
Ahmed Johnson?
no. After no, you know what I'm talking about?
Racist?
No,
What's next? You're gonna say
he's
Farouk?
No, he's right though. He's on the right track. It was the guy that was just there. We saw him at SummerSlam.
The dude with a little bit of high-pitched voice and wanted to go
no,
MMA.
The guy that
Bobby Lashley?
Yeah, Bobby Lashley.
No, not even him. There was
The powerhouse black dude.
No, there's another one.
Tony Atlas?
No, we saw him at SummerSlam in his street clothes because he had been out injured. He was the Intercontinental Champion, and they're doing a big push in the ECW brand.
Sure it's not Ahmed Johnson?
No, I'm just talking about recently.
Oh yeah, he was the last ECW champion. That
Bobby
yeah.
Lashley?
No,
Ezekiel Jackson.
Ezekiel Jackson.
The
Yeah,
powerhouse
that's what I
black
thought.
guy.
I couldn't remember.
You could have just ran with Ahmed. It's the same thing.
dude,
Hey,
dude, we're gonna get kicked off with all your racist jokes.
Did you see it on YouTube yet? Sam Rubin from the KTLA 5 News.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got Samuel L. Jackson on there, and he says, "Hey, I saw your Super Bowl commercial." And Samuel L. Jackson was like, "I didn't have no Super Bowl commercial. That was that other guy." He's like, "How dare you?"
It was
All the
Lawrence
black people
Fishburne.
look the
Yeah,
same.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, Lawrence Fishburne. I was like, "Crap, that's awesome."
Didn't he make a comment about, I'm not Morgan Freeman either?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
but when Nelson Mandela died, I love all those people that put on Facebook and Twitter, "Rest in peace," and it was a picture of Morgan Freeman.
That's crazy.
Now, what's up with this Rusev guy?
Who, Vince Russo?
No, Rusev. The Russian.
I don't get
There's
it.
a wrestler named Rusev?
Yeah, he's WWF, the Russian
WWF.
guy with the blonde chick. He keeps doing promos. He hasn't done anything yet.
No, he was in the Rumble. And he came
was
in and
in the
eliminated
Rumble,
a few guys. Just a big
Oh,
powerhouse Russian guy. But
came
then all of a
from,
sudden...
he came from NXT, right?
Yeah, they started doing promos all of a sudden where he's the dude from Rocky IV.
Ivan Drago? Yeah.
Yeah, the blonde chick with the worst Russian accent I've ever heard. Doesn't make sense.
All they had to do was let Oksana dye her hair back blonde and put her with him.
Yeah. At least it would be a genuine accent.
Yeah. She has the worst Russian accent I've ever heard. And it's because it's her real voice. It's terrible. I love the way that Alicia Fox, they made her dye her hair back to black because, what's her name from Total Divas has the red hair now? And Oksana had to dye her hair black because there were too many blondes at the time.
Wow.
Natalia, when there was too many blondes, they made her dye her hair darker. And then Kelly, they made her dye her hair blonde.
Right. Well, I told you what I heard when WWE signed Gail Kim.
No, what?
They fired Lena Yata because they didn't want to have two Asian girls on the same show. That's why they got rid of her.
Wow. Gail Kim's another one that's gonna eventually, I think, make the Hall of Fame, but it all depends on if they're gonna count TNA as part of it or not. We had a healthy discussion last week at the show, me and some of the boys, about Vince maybe buying TNA, and they're saying why? He never would. And I was saying, hey, just for the library of footage like WCW, you know. And they're like, no, if he wanted to buy TNA, he would have already signed AJ Styles. I mean, when you think about it, that really is true. If he really wanted TNA or anything to do with TNA, he would have signed AJ. He would have signed, you know, Austin Aries because they can clearly do it, you know, but they didn't. But I still think if he buys the library, it'll just give him more footage of, say, Sting to add to a DVD, but I mean, it's not going to be as good a stuff as WCW. So.
No, it's not.
But one of the rumors going around now is Double J and Toby Keith actually met with the Carter family, and they were trying to work out some kind of deal.
Yeah,
and
from what I understand, it got turned down.
Yeah, and it was something about they wanted Dixie. They wanted Dixie
they wanted
to
Dixie
be in it.
the deal was that Dixie still kept her same position on TV. So basically they're saying, listen, we're going to sell you the company, but you still got to keep us hired. So,
and she's what's wrong with the show right now. So
Exactly.
Well, she doesn't... I don't know if she actually has any creative control. You know what I mean? I think it's other people doing it.
yeah, but I mean, she's in charge. She should have learned from the fact that nothing they've done has worked, so you do something differently. And quite frankly, and nobody's probably going to agree with me, I'm very disappointed in Eric Bischoff because he's the originator of knowing that you can't do what WWE's doing to try to win. You got to do what they're not doing to grab the rest of the audience. And in TNA, he went right for the WWE thing. Let's just sign the old guys like we did in WCW, and let's just copy what our WWE's doing. Drop the 6 sides, drop the X division. Let's go after the market they already have, and it failed. So I'm very disappointed in Bischoff, and I know most people won't agree with me because they think Bischoff killed it anyway, but I think Bischoff could have brought a lot more to the table than he did.
Well, if you really listen to the Bischoff stuff, Bischoff was actually a visionary for WCW. Like, he fell into the NWO idea, and he had this long idea where he was going to split the 2 shows, and he actually had a good idea back in the 90s, but he had an unlimited budget for those ideas. He didn't realize in TNA you can't just copy your old good ideas, 10 years after the Federation's been closed?
Yeah, exactly. Well, but I was going to say, though, remember something about Bischoff, though. Bischoff had an opportunity that Bill Watts never had.
Right.
They would listen to him. When Eric Bischoff talked, they listened to what he had to say. WCW had been run by all these people for all these years, and nobody wanted to listen to what the guy in charge had to say. They were getting all these directions from Turner and from all these different places and from the network and stuff, and the show was being screwed up by all these people that had no idea how to run a wrestling federation. And then Bischoff, they finally started listening.
Yeah, well, Bischoff was a visionary in the way of NWO, and that was his real big one. But what he was trying to do was do something different. So he went after different markets. What he did was go non-PG. Let's go R. Let's explore if we push the envelope, which caused WWE to copy them and ultimately succeed with the Attitude Era.
Well, and he was responsible for the live shows.
The live shows.
I mean, up until that point, everything you saw in wrestling was pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, he had a lot of good stuff, although he had a lot of crappy stuff, too. But visionary-wise, his big thing was always, if we can't beat them, we have to be different than them. And it worked. I mean, and to think about it, they killed the X Division, and he's the one that created the Cruiserweight division. Yeah. So, but he stole a lot from ECW, don't get me wrong, but, I mean...
Paul Heyman was a visionary when it came to professional wrestling.
But what Paul learned real quick...
was not a businessman.
Right, but he also niched himself, and that couldn't last. That extreme niche, it just couldn't last, and it didn't. Because once they hit the major stuff, pay-per-views, if you look at the pay-per-views and the TNN show, it wasn't ECW anymore. It was basically like a TNA. It was like a watered-down ECW.
Yeah, it was far different. Like on TNN, the TNN show, the biggest problem with the TNN show was it was the same characters and the same stories continuing on, but you watched it and you knew it was a different product. And the other thing that always drove me crazy, when you saw the pay-per-views, it was better quality. The cameras they used, the lighting they used, the arenas they were in, it was just too good of quality. I remember ECW, the best thing about it was that bootleg feeling. That it was always pretty when you're watching it. But everything's so crisp. You can see that Danny Dory is wearing the shittiest costume or the shittiest outfit you've ever seen.
Exactly.
You could see these wrestlers, and you could just see how these little imperfections, and that was the problem.
You could see that Sandman was an old, beat-down, skinny dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Does anybody remember who the Sandman originally was?
ECW Sandman?
ECW Sandman. He was the Sandman, but he used to wear a wetsuit and carry a surfboard. That was his original gimmick. Seriously.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, Google it. You'll crack up when you see the pictures. It's basically like seeing John Laurinaitis on a skateboard.
Right. Yeah.
It's on that level. So.
But that's John Laurinaitis ever did.
Well, Johnny Ace had his little moments, like in World Class. It was him and John Tatum, managed by Missy Hyatt. He had some stuff in UWF. That tag team thing was just, it was dumb. I don't think anybody bought it. It would be like me coming out on a skateboard. It's like, dude, you're too old to be riding a skateboard, and it just doesn't look right. But his thing was he had one of the worst mullets of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... But TNA, I don't see them... The only thing that's helping them to survive is the TV deal. If they lose the TV deal, all of a sudden the company is probably going to sell for $2 million, and that's just the taping rights, the rights to the library.
Right, and the issue is going to be Well, so it's going to be the same as ECW, because ECW could have stuck around if they had the TV presence.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
no, exactly. Once they lost the TV presence, and it's funny that nobody ever talks about this because who did they lose the TV rights to?
Yeah, the WWE. Yeah,
Who was subsidizing ECW for all those years? WWE.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. So
ECW, no matter what, would have folded. Paul Heyman was just that bad of a manager, that bad of an owner.
well, no, it's like if we took the EWF here in Southern California, and we got on a national TV show, and we started spending money like we were a national company, it wouldn't work. And that's essentially what ECW was. They were a local promotion. They were known as Eastern Championship Wrestling. They were very much in that New York tri-state area, and that's all they were. They run little shows in bingo halls and stuff, and they'd get 100, maybe 200 fans out, and it started getting some traction by some of the extreme storylines and things being different than everybody else, and they caught on like the Rob Zombie kind of people, that the underground of wrestling. And then he thought he could just spend oh, you know what, we're gonna make the money like child stars do. Oh, don't worry about it, just let's buy everything we can, the money's gonna keep coming. Well, no, once the show gets canceled, you're done. So.
Exactly right.
But from what I understand, he still owes people money. And did anybody ever hear the story of how they found out that ECW was closed?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, they turned on Monday Night Raw and Paul Heyman was on there. And they're like, oh, I guess we're done. And that's how they closed ECW.
Well, what was really funny is right after that, Shane Douglas was working at Target. Shane Douglas and Justin Credible were managers at Target. It always made me wonder if I went in there just to complain, just to meet them.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, what you do is you bring the Shane Douglas action figure that you bought 5 years ago and you say, here, I want to return that.
We were just talking before the podcast about TNA wrestlers. When Robbie E was TV champion, he was working at Walmart, and then one of the divas that was champion at one point, and I can't remember who it was working at Hooters. That's how bad TNA is, because TNA was your local promotion that had some good guys on it, and started picking some traction, and they threw some money behind it because they thought they could pick up part of the market. And unfortunately, they just didn't put the money where it should have gone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, and the biggest problem with TNA, there were things I liked when they first went national. The way they funded it was by those pay-per-views every week. You pay $9.99 a month, or $9.99 a week if you wanted to watch the show. Right. And no one had ever done that before. I think that was an amazing idea. The problem was the show was never worth $9.99.
Right, exactly.
So then finally they got a TV spot on Fox Sports in the middle of the night, and I would stay up to watch TNA at 1 in the morning on Friday night or Saturday night, and it still sucked.
Yeah.
And then every step of the way, it's like they've had moments. It's better now than it used to be, but they go through phases where it starts to get good, then it gets bad, and TNA can't be successful if they don't give us a consistent product. And I've always said this because the thing I loved about TNA a few years ago was their women's division. When they had Gail Kidd and Awesome Kong and ODB, and they were all there at the same time, and the women's division was awesome. And I was going, this is what the WWE needs to do, is have a women's division like this.
No,
and
exactly.
Then when TNA,
well,
TNA tore it apart, it's not as good anymore.
And the funny part about that was TNA was having such success with that, they talked about making their own Divas or Knockouts show because it was doing so well. But let me list off the names, like you just said. There's Gail Kim, Lisa Marie Verone. What do they call her there? Tara.
Oh yeah, Tara. Oh yeah, she was there. She was there.
You had ODB. You had Velvet Sky. You had Angelina Love. You had Lacey Von Erich, and
Right.
there's somebody else I'm missing. And every single one of those that I just named were all started in WWE, and WWE let them go.
But
Every single one. Velvet Sky was in the what do they call the Divas show? Diva Search.
The Diva Search.
Yeah, and then
Nice.
Angelina Love was part of their development program in OVW. So was ODB. Gail Kim obviously came up and was champion. I mean, so it was like they couldn't see what was right in front of them. Hey, we took the stuff that they're not using and we made something out of it. Now let's just throw that aside and try to copy what they are doing.
Right.
Am I the only one that
See,
was sickened this
one of
last
the-
week with the Velvet Sky situation?
What
Did
happened?
you see it? Chris Sabin basically, I guess they were trying to make it like a restaurant type scene.
Uh-huh.
And he was acting like he was going to ask her to marry him and all that.
Uh-huh.
And then the box was empty, and he started yelling and screaming at her, and challenged Velvet Sky to a match,
Oh, jeez.
and told her that she's a coward if she doesn't show up to wrestle him and this and that. And it didn't work well. This dude challenging this woman to a match and basically talking crap to her.
Right, and that's
after
kind of
breaking her heart.
that's kind of what they've been doing. But Chris Sabin was a guy that came back. They gave him a push he didn't deserve, and then snatched it right out from underneath him. So it was just terrible. But Alex Shelley's in
I thought-
WWE developmental somewhere. But go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, well, Andy was talking about how good the Divas division was back then. But I just remember there was this match where I think it was 3 boxes or something like that.
Oh, that was so
And-
stupid.
Yeah, and one was Tara Spider. The other was her woman's title.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? It was just the most retarded thing I've ever seen. So it's like, no matter what, you lose something.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
That was bad. Some of their gimmicks have been bad. The Raven versus Abyss in the, I want to say it was the Monsters Ball where they used to have a wall with weapons on it. It wasn't like it is now where the weapons are under the ring. They actually had like a wall attached to the side of the ring, and you would go over there and you would grab, say, a kendo stick, handcuffs, lid to a thing. It was an
And-
actual wall.
And hopefully, as an audience member, you didn't buy the seats behind the wall.
Pretty much. pretty much. It was very bizarre.
Or,
So.
or when Joe was going around trying to kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Joe had a Slim Jim that you would use to fucking break into a car, and it was cut to look like a Samoan knife of some kind.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then the thing that used to drive me crazy is the guys that were getting them big and getting the company over, like the Macho Man impersonator. What the heck? What can't I think of his name?
Yeah, Jay Lethal.
Jay
Yeah.
Lethal. Yeah, he was awesome. Elix Skipper, Simon Diamond, all those guys. They'd show them in the intro. You'd see Elix Skipper do the Hurricane Rana off the top of the 6-sided steel ring, and he was never on the show because they had fired him.
Right.
That
yeah.
was the biggest part of their promo at the beginning, where you go, "Oh my gosh!"
Did we ever find out who murdered Abyss?
Yeah, Joseph Bark. Weren't you watching?
No, I'm talking about when Abyss came walking out on stage and fell forward and had the, what do they call it?
Oh yeah,
His board with the nails in it.
isn't it Maggie?
It has some kind of name.
Yeah, they brought it out last week too.
Yeah.
Hey, and
But he fell on the stage and it was stuck in his back.
right, but you could see he was
Oh,
wearing
I
a
forgot all
backpack.
about that.
And so someone murdered Abyss,
Right.
but then it was never addressed the fact that Abyss was murdered, and then he started wrestling again.
And I'm so sick of that stupid stick with the nails on it that never ever gets used because it can't possibly be used.
It was used on RVD.
How?
RVD
You don't
walked
remember
out with
that?
his
Oh.
back knee.
RVD was jumped. Of course, they didn't show it.
Oh, right.
And then they found him, and it had been used on him. His trunks were all cut up and sliced, and
Right.
he had blood everywhere.
How about the time that they threw Bubba Ray Dudley through the glass table, and then they came up with a towel with a bag of blood in it, and pushed it against him, so it looked like he was actually all cut up.
Or when they found X-Pac in a pile of in a puddle of blood so big that there's no way he could be
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I'm kind of looking forward to WrestleMania. I know they haven't announced anything that's going to be super awesome yet, but I honestly think Sting and Taker will be the hugest thing that you could have for WrestleMania 30. I honestly believe that. Even Daniel Bryan winning, I think the moment's going to be great, but I think going into it that the Undertaker Sting match is going to have more hype, and I honestly believe it's going to happen. If it doesn't, I'm going to be disappointed because I don't want to see Undertaker Brock Lesnar.
I mean, I don't mean
Well,
to sound like
they're-
the negative guy here, but in theory, the concept Undertaker versus Sting seems awesome.
Right.
But thinking about both of their wrestling styles,
Right. The
it
match is
doesn't
going to
sound
suck.
like it's going to be a good match.
No,
at
I know,
all.
but did you hear what I said? I said going into
Yeah.
WrestleMania,
The
the build-up's going to be
concept of it
awesome.
is
Right.
incredible.
But
the
Daniel
actual
Bryan's
match doesn't
moment-
seem like it's going to.
But see, the Daniel
Hey,
Bryan, the Daniel Bryan title match. Hold on, the Daniel Bryan title match going into it sounds like it's just another title match. When he wins, that moment's going to steal the show. Now going into WrestleMania, the Sting Undertaker, phenomenal. The build-up's going to be awesome. The video packages, the hype, everything, and then the match is pretty much going to suck. So that's my prediction is that you're going in weak with the thing that's going to be awesome, just like when Benoit won the title against Triple H and Shawn, and I don't even remember who Undertaker fought that year.
Undertaker's had some bad years. Was that the Mark Henry year?
I don't WrestleMania 20. Anybody off the top of your head? It all runs together. I thought that was a big one for him.
It should have been.
No,
20.
Kane. He wrestled Kane again. That
Oh,
was
was
when he
it?
became the Pitman again. WrestleMania 20. He was he'd been doing the biker thing, and then Kane attacked him so that he could become the Dead Man again. Remember?
Oh, so that was where the transition period back. Okay.
That's where he became the Dead Man again. Yeah, which
Oh.
was a joke.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Other than that, I'm trying to think what else could be good at WrestleMania. But if it's not Sting and Undertaker, it's going to be Brock and Undertaker, which they could make work. But for a WrestleMania 30, I would throw everything I have to get Sting there if I was WWE.
You know, in
Well,
some way, the
I
Wyatts
wonder
are going to be
what's gonna-
involved. You figure the Wyatt Shield thing should be over before that.
Right,
So-
it should, but the Wyatts are going to go after somebody else. I think, like I said, I think Seth Rollins joins them. They become a group of four, and I think they're in a mid-card mode for a while. I don't see them do. They'll probably be the first match, if not the pre-show match. Is my guess on the Wyatts.
I would guess the
But
pre-show
I'm-
match would be for the U.S. title, the two Shield members.
Or tag. They do the tag matches too.
Now I have another idea.
But-
Because I'm thinking, what if they do the Undertaker versus all three members of the Shield? Since the Shield are the ones that took out the Undertaker this last year.
Yeah, but
He's
you
been
know how
gone
that
ever since the
goes.
Shield attacked
That's
him.
not something anyone wants to see.
Yeah, that's.
Agreed.
I just don't think that's really going to happen because it's not a draw. They need something that's a draw, and like I said, they blew it a couple of years ago when they did Cena Rock, because I thought it should have been Cena Undertaker that year on the first Cena Rock, but then they dragged down Cena so much that he wasn't unbeatable anymore, so that match doesn't make any sense. And in the Brock Lesnar, they should have really done last year. Who did he fight last year? CM Punk?
CM Punk versus Taker.
It should have been last year because Taker and Brock Lesnar had their confrontation at the UFC event that year. So it made sense last year. Doesn't make much sense this year. But whatever happens has to happen relatively quick because we've got WrestleMania coming up. So
now let me throw out another possible prediction. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to throw this out there because you brought up you brought up John Cena versus The Rock. And if you remember how that started, it was The Rock coming out the year before at WrestleMania, and it was a whole year's build-up. What if Undertaker is wrestling whoever this year, and Sting comes out at the end of the Undertaker's match this year to build up for WrestleMania 31?
Hey, Andy, can you go back to the last podcast? I already gave that prediction.
Did he? That's not technically what he said at all.
No, yeah, I said they were going to build Sting up for a year.
Yeah, no, but my whole point is he's going to come out at WrestleMania.
You didn't say it that way. You said it that they were going to have him wrestle for a year.
Coming out at WrestleMania and challenging Taker for next year.
I said they were going to build Sting up for the year.
He's not going to wrestle in next year.
Yeah,
that's similar.
Like wrestle for a whole year.
No, but The Rock did wrestle.
That's similar but different.
The Rock only wrestled once, and that was to sell the WrestleMania pre-tickets.
Right, exactly.
This was that Survivor Series, but
The Croc.
Yeah,
but what I'm trying to figure out for this Mania is where does Hogan and Warrior fit in? Because if it's WrestleMania 30, those are two of the main players for past WrestleManias.
Well, let me see. I'm going to take a stab at this. Maybe they'll put the Ultimate Warrior in the Hall of Fame.
No, but
maybe Hogan will just come out because he's a personality from them.
No, but what I'm saying is...
I mean, that's just a stab in the dark.
Is Warrior going to do anything there?
No.
I doubt it. I don't think Warrior's capable of wrestling.
Why would he? Yeah, he's got no interest in doing that, really.
That's like saying, now that Jake the Snake is back in the fold, what's he going to be doing at WrestleMania? Because he's been such a big part of many WrestleManias.
Ultimate Warrior's he's a politician now.
No, but think
about it. I don't think he has any plans on wrestling. Why would you involve him? What could you possibly involve him in? They haven't
because if you could have him do his 30-second spot...
Okay, in the next, say, 30 days, or whatever they have, like 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks at the most before WrestleMania, what can you build up with the Ultimate Warrior to do for WrestleMania?
No, but what I'm saying is, think about when Hogan came back. One year he ended up beating one of the foreign guys up just because he was there. I think Warrior and Hogan might get involved. I don't even know what you're
referring to. So you're saying the Ultimate Warrior is going to come out and take out the Shield, or...
No, they're going to give him somebody like the ginger guy who always gets beat up by the
why would they...
classic people.
That makes no sense.
What ginger guy?
He's talking about
the one-man band.
The ginger guy who just gets beat up by all the old legends.
You mean the Ginger Ninja?
The Ginger Ninja.
Yeah.
But, Chuck, you don't understand that gimmick's over with.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think Warrior... They might just have him, beat somebody up.
I
actually think Chuck's onto something here. Because remember, they brought Sid Vicious back just to beat him.
Yeah, but that wasn't at Mania.
No, but the Warrior will be involved in WrestleMania.
Right.
The same way every Hall of Fame class is involved in WrestleMania every year. They're going to bring all of them out and line them up on the stage and say you're Hall of Fame inductees for this year.
As a matter of fact, when Hogan got inducted, he didn't get involved in any matches.
Right.
No,
Well, I'm going on the record predicting that you're wrong. There's no way to set something up. Especially
I need to argue on this, Wally, because you said, yeah, but that wasn't at Mania when it came to Sid, and my answer to that is exactly, it was Sid. So, by comparison, Warrior should have a match at WrestleMania against the Ginger Ninja, if he's going to wrestle him.
No, because that gimmick's been over for like 2 years, dude. But anyway, with that, there's no way. Here's my point. Think about this. For the next 5 or 6 weeks, you have to build up. You have to take your established matches, your established feuds, put them into Mania, and you have to build on whoever Undertaker's fighting, regardless of who it is. That's where your energy has to go. Everybody knows Warrior's going to be there, so what could you possibly build up that would make sense to have Ultimate Warrior involved in?
All right,
Just
hold on. We got 4 minutes left, so everyone just take a little time to throw some kind of prediction out there for Mania.
Well,
my prediction is that Alberto Del Rio and Christian are quitting the WWE. Neither of them will be there.
my prediction, as I've been saying, is it's going to end up being a 3-way for the title. Bryan ends up getting the title at Mania, and my other prediction is somewhere around there, John Cena turns and becomes the face of the company.
my prediction is I think it's going to be Randy Orton versus Batista in the main event. I don't think Daniel Bryan's going to be in it.
I think it's Daniel Bryan's time.
Yeah,
he
I think
is the face of WWE.
One
right
way
now.
or another, Daniel Bryan's in the title picture. Because if they're just going to do Randy Orton versus Batista, they wouldn't do the Chamber the way they're doing it. Maybe Sheamus will win.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, they're going to try to put a monkey wrench in it somewhere. I mean, it's like, they do this. It's like Batista coming to win the Rumble. Nobody expected it because it was so far out there. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to throw people off.
Well, they're trying to piss people off so when Daniel Bryan wins, it'll be even bigger. And I mean, you can see the build-up, except for if you're Chuck, he doesn't get it. But I've been explaining on many podcasts where they're leading to and how long it would take, and we're just about there to where my prediction was. Go back to my prior podcasts, and you'll see that my prediction has been that build-up. The only thing that scared me was when they threw him with the Wyatts. I was like, damn it, what happened? But I think it's definitely his time, and I think he's definitely going to win. And if you put him in a triple threat with Randy Orton and Batista, it's like putting Benoit in a triple threat with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. He shouldn't win. Everything's against him. But he pulls it off at the end, and it's a huge moment. So.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I mean, that's going to be crazy. I don't know. I'm worried that WrestleMania is really going to suck this year because it sucked the last few years. It has not been good. WrestleMania was horrible last year, and it was horrible the year before.
Yeah, this is 30. They've got to start throwing stuff at the wall. Alex, you didn't give a prediction yet. You got 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
I don't have one.
He called for predictions, and he doesn't have one. That's terrible. WrestleMania 30. Mr. T getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
We'll see if he's even on good terms with them. You know, WWE talks to these people, but if they don't want to be in, I mean, they're not going to.
No, he doesn't. Well, the latest thing is they want to put Mr. T into the celebrity wing, especially it's WrestleMania 30, and he was in WrestleMania 1, and I think that's where Hogan would come in. He would probably induct Mr. T. But,
you know what? I got a prediction. I predict they're going to piss me off by charging for a pay-per-view and then throwing Totino's Pizza Rolls commercials in it and other things like they did at the Royal Rumble. Why am I paying for the pay-per-view if it's sponsored?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
All
well,
right.
as long as Leslie Nielsen doesn't get delivered a pizza from The Undertaker.
Oh, in the coffin-shaped donuts? Right. But all right, guys, we got to wrap it up here. So I will say goodbye. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, later, everybody.
Good day, everybody.
Mahalo.
Alrighty then.